Hi everyone. Hello, thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me on this live. How are you doing? Tell me how you're doing. Tell me who you are and where you are and how your day is going. I hope you're showing up for yourself with love and compassion as always. Super important. I hope you're enjoying April. If you're watching with me now, then we've sprung into spring and finally the sun has come out in Spain. It's been a long time with no sun in Spain, so I'm super happy, and I know that UK dwellers have had a lot of sun over the last few weeks as well, which is such a beautiful thing because it really helps raise our spirits, or certainly for me it does so much. So there's a lot of joy for me right now in just seeing the sun and being able to go and get warm. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful to be able to step outside and warm up because it's so cold inside in Spain because all the houses are made of stone and concrete and it's just freezing. So finally April is here and we have sun. I had a beautiful day yesterday going to visit our retreat centre. And it's gorgeous, it's so gorgeous. The place has such amazing vibes. Like it's a kind of community, a spiritual community that own the place and run the place. So they do loads of workshops and meditations and seminars, and it's all kind of about spiritual growth and personal relation, knowing yourself and going deep, and that you can really feel the love vibes in this place. Like it's very, very warm, tranquil, accepting, really relaxing environment. And the surrounding coastline is gorgeous. It's so rugged, and the crystal clear waters. You've got like these gorgeous little restaurants up on the hillsides, and then the beaches beside it. It's kind of pebbly beaches, but such like interesting and dynamic coastline, and the water looks gorgeous. It looks like so I really wanted to get in it, but we didn't actually have time, so next time I'm going in. Yeah, anyway, that was my yesterday, and it really kind of filled up my cup because it was so beautiful. Okay, anyway, let's get into this live session. I'll stop talking about my day and instead give you some helpful information around the subject of self-compassion. So I talk about self-compassion a lot, and that's because it's so important, and it's been really, really important for me in my growth journey, because I used to have zero self-compassion. I used to be really mean to myself, so mean. I remember once I always write. I've written for like years and years and years and years as a form of expression and just kind of figuring myself out. It helps me to just get it out on paper. And I used to write when I was really angry or feeling frustrated or down. And yeah, so a few years later, when I kind of started this self-love journey, where I realized that my negative thoughts weren't actually real or like me, it didn't necessarily define me. The way I thought about myself might not actually be true. It might just be the way I'm thinking. So I started that journey, like it's kind of been a long and beautiful and deep journey. But as I was just starting it, I remember finding a piece of writing that I'd written, and it was so horrible. You would never write anything like that to someone that you love or anyone in your life. Like it was awful. It was so mean, so flagellating, self-flagellating, so nasty. It was so nasty. And I remember when I read it, because I just kind of started this self-love journey, I cried and cried and cried. I was like, holy shit, I was so horrible to myself. I really didn't love myself. I didn't know how, but I didn't realize that I could. So it was a real eye-opener that I need to be more compassionate with myself and more loving. So that's why I have a lot of interest in this subject of self-compassion, because it's been a real cornerstone to my growth, allowing myself to be imperfect, allowing myself to fail and suffer and make mistakes. But knowing that actually that's okay, and it's all a part of learning, it's a part of growth, and it's really important actually to be able to fail and learn and make mistakes, because everyone does. Okay, So self-compassion is basically about treating ourselves as we would treat people that we love and treat other people. It's recognizing that we're often much, much harsher to ourselves than we are to others. And whereas if we're speaking to ourselves, we might be very judgmental and very self-critical. Instead, if we speak to others, we can be really caring and sympathetic, empathetic, compassionate. We want to help, we want to provide constructive assistance and just send love and care to a person that's suffering or a person that's going through stuff. And so we want to, with self-compassion, turn that around and sort of feel into how that compassion feels for others and direct it at ourselves instead. So instead of ignoring our problems or ignoring the fact that we're going through difficulty, we can instead just recognize, all right, we're going through a really difficult time and there are reasons for that. There are reasons why we're struggling. There are reasons why we might feel that we're not enough or doing enough or being enough. But to, instead of berate the self for that, instead to feel like, how can I comfort myself? How can I care for myself through this difficult time? How can I be a loving support as I move through this phase of my life? Remembering that everything is transient. So change is important. It happens to everyone. It happens to everything. Change is the one kind of definite thing in life. The irony is that change is very definite. And so we want to encourage change in our lives, but coming from a place of care and love, rather than coming from a place of unworthiness or like not accepting yourself as you are, not feeling that you're acceptable or worthy or enough. So you're kind of like making yourself change because you're not good enough. Instead, that change coming from a place of real care and love and the knowledge that you want to explore your potential and see what you're kind of capable of in a really kind of loving and curious way, that curiosity of the self. Bearing in mind, you are the most important relationship you'll ever have is the relationship to yourself. There's no other relationship that you'll ever spend so much time with or so much like depth with. It's you and yourself. So why not nurture a loving and compassionate relationship with you? Because who else is there? Who else will? Okay. Also, based on this, if we can find compassion for ourselves, then we can truly be compassionate with other people. It goes both ways, right? Okay, so what is self-compassion and why is it important? What does it involve? Well, Dr. Kristin Neff, she is like the leader in the self-compassion world. She is a doctor in psychology, I think. I need to check that. I'm going to drop her details down in the comments anyway, so you can check her out because she's really interesting and got loads of very, very helpful information for you. So she talks about self-compassion as having 3 pillars of what self-compassion involves. Okay, so the first pillar is self-kindness versus self-judgment. Okay, number 1, self-kindness versus self-judgment. So that's where we can be warm and understanding to ourselves when we suffer, rather than being self-flagellating. When we make mistakes are very normal. Everyone makes mistakes. Fails is part of our growth journey. So recognizing that no one's perfect and failing and going through difficult times is normal, it's inevitable. We can't always do or be what we want, so we can provide a loving space to be imperfect. Gentle, understanding, sympathetic, empathetic, instead of harsh criticism and judgment, which often is the default. I mean, certainly big time it was for me, and I think that society has a big role to play in so much. Social conditioning has a big role to play in why we might feel like we're not enough and we should be better, and having these kind of self-hating feelings and thoughts. We need to encourage more self-compassion, because that then allows our hearts to feel more open, allows us to feel okay with ourselves, and then we can really kind of love and be okay with other people and accept other people with compassion. Sympathy and kindness equal greater emotional equanimity. So Dr. Kristin Neff says this, and you can look that up if you want to. It allows us to have more balance in our emotions and how we deal with ourselves and the world around us. All right, number 2 of the self-compassion paradigm is recognizing a common humanity versus isolation. So this refers to this feeling of like, I am the only person suffering. I'm the only person going through difficulty. I am the only person that's shit. I'm the only person that's not good enough or not having a good time, not like showing up like everyone else on social media or whatever. It's recognizing that actually everyone feels that way. I think that most people in the world struggle with their own personal inadequacies and the things that they dislike about themselves. There's always something that people don't like about themselves. That's normal. So common humanity recognizes our shared human experience and the fact that there's no one person that doesn't have suffering and personal inadequacy, and we all go through it. So we can recognize that actually we're not alone in this. We are in it together, and there are ways where we can behave and love ourselves more fully and wholeheartedly. So common humanity versus isolation just recognizes that we're all in this together and you're not alone. It's not just you that feels like you're failing. And so in that case, you're not failing. If we all feel like this, it suggests that actually, if you look at that other person, they seem like they're doing fine, but maybe they're still struggling with their own stuff. So we're all going through it. Maybe we're not all failing. Maybe this is just all a part of the journey, of the growth, of the learning, and it's okay. And then lastly, the third pillar, mindfulness versus over-identification. And this mindfulness versus over-identification allows us to recognize a balanced approach to our negative emotions and negative thoughts. So rather than kind of suppressing them or over-identifying and exaggerating our negative thoughts or negative emotions or problems, we can provide a mindful approach. So seeing them, recognizing that they're there, but not over-identifying with the issues. You can be aware of them, because it's important not to ignore and just push them down to the bottom of the pile, because the thing is, they never go away. Like we need to be recognizing our stuff and looking at it and healing it. And that healing comes with and from a base of compassion, of love, of understanding that it's okay to have issues and it's okay to have problems. Like, we live in a world that has a lot of negativity and a lot of problems, and that impacts us as we grow up in this climate, in this world. So being aware of that and having compassion for that, allowing your feelings to be seen but not over-identifying with them so that you become reactive or like overly reactive and react in negative ways and express that in negative ways, and that then has an impact on your life, and it's this kind of self-perpetuating issue, right? You behave in a way that's negative based on your negative emotions, and then that impacts people in your lives and that impacts you, and it's like a feedback loop. Then that reinforces the negativity and the problems and the issues. So having self-compassion allows you to have a more balanced perspective and mindfulness that, yes, you might be going through difficulties. Yes, your mind might be being mean at the moment, but it won't last. It's transient. You can do things to love yourself and care for yourself through the difficult times. And what a beautiful thing that is, to know that you are loving and you can love yourself through anything, through the highs and the lows, through whatever you go through, maintaining a love and comfort and support to kind of carry you through, because everyone in life has issues that they have to deal with. There's not one single person that is free from that, free from suffering. So if you can be the one to show up with love and compassion, then your ride is going to be smoother. So we can practice compassion by noticing, being mindful, mindfulness practices, noticing when you might be a little mean to yourself, and then instead changing the story, writing a love letter to yourself, saying, no, it's okay, I'm in difficulty, but that's all right. it doesn't reflect on me. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. All it means is that I need to do a little more self-care, a little more self-love. You can, practice self-care, do loving things for yourself once a day, be mindful once a day, just kind of like providing that extra support level when you're going through difficulty, that extra compassion, and remembering to do that. Anyways, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. I hope it's been helpful. Please do drop a comment at any point with your comments, with your thoughts, with your questions. I'm so happy to help. I do also have a blog about self-compassion that I will post in case you want to read about it, and I'll also post Kristen Neff's website. So thank you. I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Let me know what else you want to talk about. Let me know if there is any particular subject that you'd like me to cover, and I will do that. I'll cover it. So yeah, just let me know, drop a comment or send me a DM. And I'll see you again soon. Lovelies, have a great day. Mwah.